Welcome to Leadership, the Secret Sauce with coaches Dave Lipsky and Matt Dodson, where we are delving into the realms of leadership and coaching. Join us as we sit down with remarkable leaders and coaches, uncovering their unique insights and strategies that make them truly exceptional. We'll explore the question, what is your secret sauce and when did you know? Unveiling the hidden ingredients behind their success. Are you ready? Well, let's get started. Before we begin, a quick shout out to our sponsor, Character Matters Coaching and Consulting, where they believe that your character is the compass guiding you through life's journey. Whether you're facing personal or professional challenges, they are dedicated to helping you discover and strengthen the core values that define who you are. Dave, who do we have on this show today?
I am so excited to be talking with our friend Leslie again. We spent a good amount of time on the conference board together, and I'm excited to talk with Leslie about her secret sauces of coaching.
Excellent. Welcome, Leslie. Great to have you here.
It's great to be here.
And I think, we should let our audience know that we will actually tell you how we got to know Leslie, but and in various ways that we actually spent a lot of time during COVID over Zoom with her, as well as some of our previous guests like Giselle Garcia, and I think those are those. And Kristen Stockton was one of our past guests in season 2. And that's how we actually spent time with Leslie too. So, Dave, you want to kick us off with our question?
Sure. I will start off. Leslie, when you are on the bus traveling across country and somebody turns to you and says, "What do you do, Leslie?" How do you answer that?
Well, I probably wouldn't answer it because I am really great at sleeping in moving vehicles. So I tend to put in the earplugs, put on the eye shades, have a blanket that's kind of stretchy. I wrap it around myself like a baby that's being swaddled, and I go to sleep. And I manage to sleep pretty well, whether it's a bus or a plane or a moving car. So not so great for a conversation in that setting, alas.
All
Like a
moving
burrito.
vehicles. I
Yeah.
can now all move. Okay. Yeah. So you're at a conference and somebody turns to you and says, "Oh, hi, Leslie. What do you do?"
I would say I'm an executive coach and an artist. I mostly work with people in transition and I work in clay. And what do you do? I'd love to find out about you too.
Very well played, Matt. Clearly, we're not gonna.
Yeah. Yeah. I would probably talk for maybe 5 or 10 minutes before I even thought, oh, maybe I should ask them what they do.
I would. I think an energy check-in is appropriate. So we like to start out on a scale from 1 to 10, what your energy level is. So Are you on California time today?
Mhm.
So it's 3 hours earlier than here. It's happy hour. Matt's an hour earlier. On a scale from 1 to 10, one being low, 10 being high, what is your energy level?
I'd say it's a steady 8. Positive energy, but not manic, not draggy. It's like right where it feels good. Sweet in the sweet spot.
Feels very steady for an executive coach. Matt, how about you?
I'm probably at 9.25, Dave.
Oh my, I've never heard that before, Matt. Why would you use a decimal? All right, so
Well, because I can, and there was no rules given, so um,
that's fair. That's
you know,
fair.
I don't mind asking, or saying something different than maybe even what you thought. So
I
yeah,
am.
and since I've watched so many Olympics of late, I thought I would just put out there
Yes, and
9.25.
the
Mm-hmm.
Bulgarian judge says I'm at a 9.15. I'm really excited to reconnect with Leslie. And also, I just want to say one thing. My memories of connecting with Leslie is I'd always have some kind of question that was a little like not obvious, more challenging. And I would ask Leslie, like, what would you recommend for something? And you would always come back with the best recommendations. So I appreciate that, and it's reminding me that I should be calling you more, which I will do.
I'd love to hear from you more. And maybe that's a way to say too, my nickname among my team is the Cosmic Librarian. I'm Leslie Librarian.
Totally agree. Yeah.
I love that.
Actually, there are a lot of books that I read because of you, Leslie, too. So I would say I would vouch that for that during our time at the conference board. So, and I think I read a lot, but
Matt does read a
you
lot.
have really challenged me to read some more. So,
All right, so explain the cosmic part.
Oh, I think it's just, an exaggeration that makes it sound kind of cool. There's nothing particularly cosmic about it. Maybe just very expansive, non-canonical. It's not like I'm reading only in one genre.
genre.
Yeah.
Yeah. Leslie, we want to just jump right into it, and we just ask you, what do you think as a coach? What is your secret sauce? What makes you you? You.
My secret sauce isn't really based on a secret. It's based on something that's so fundamental and so obvious that we might breeze right past it and not pay enough attention. And here's what I mean. When we're working with our clients, we're working with their speech, their speech and ours too. So attending to the unique patterns in what somebody says and intervening as a coach through the use of language is the secret sauce. And it's just really fundamental to how I work. And of course, we're also working with processes and strategies and org charts and networks and office environments and technology and all these other things that are part of the systems that the people we work with are dealing with, and their own bodily reactions and sensations and emotions too. And even when we include and observe all of those other things, we're still making sense of them in language. Maybe it's in diagrams or in equations or something, but it's most often in speech. And I can give you a couple examples of that as we go along, I hope.
Hmm, that's really good. When did you know that that was your not so secret sauce?
Well, the tilt this direction started with a book, Annie Rogers' book, The Unsayable, which was really my first introduction to this thinker named Jacques Lacan. And that was the start. But even before then, you think back to coaching school and you learn about listening and listening really to what people are saying and using their language. And it was there. But what I learned from Annie and from a lot of additional research and study and experience that I've had since then is more about um, the reasons why we do it, the kind of theory that's behind listening to the letter. And that all started with Annie.
Hmm. You remember who turned you on to Annie?
I don't remember who, but I know it was either from a bibliography or from a footnote in something else I was reading. It caught my
Hmm.
attention and I thought, oh, I better read this too. And it was just gripping.
Wow. When was that? Like were you already at your present company, or were you doing something else, or?
It was 2015. I was on a business trip and I've traveled from LA to Washington and I read another one of her books that was also gripping. And I thought, gosh, I got to read more of this person. Downloaded The Unsayable, which is the one that
Hmm.
really hit me. And on the train from Washington to New York, started reading it. And if I wasn't in a client meeting for the next 2 days, I was reading this book.
That's a cool seminal moment. Yeah. Dave?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking I need to read this book. And
It's
I'm also,
unstable.
yeah. Am I coming through? Is there a delay on my voice?
No, you're good.
Oh, okay. Thank you. It's really odd on my end. Okay, so with that, so in terms of like when people use language to describe themselves, like I'm trying to picture you across from a client and what your looking for and what you're asking around their description. So maybe maybe one of the examples that you had talked about.
Yeah. So this is a really fresh, recent example. This client said to me, talking about what they wanted to focus on and the sort of context that they were in, they said, I have to build a team quickly and blow this up as quickly as I can. And I paused and asked him, blow this up? Just repeating it with a question mark, underlining it. What do you mean? And they replied, what do you think I meant? And I knew from prior encounters that this person felt some ambivalence about their work. So I said, well, those words could carry a couple of meanings. You want to blow it up, scale it up, inflate it, make it bigger, or you want to blow it up, explode it, destroy it. Maybe a bit of both. It was your words. What do you think? And that stopped him. And the theme of ambivalence became a main focus for the session. Blow this up as a destructive kind of impulse was unsayable as a plan. As a business leader, you're not going to say that, but it was there, a kind of wish lurking in his language. And there's so many examples I could give of listening to the letter like this and taking really seriously what people say. And like I said, this is not a coaching secret. It's what we all learned in coaching school. Skill. It is a coaching skill, and it's what we learned in coaching school. And um, like I said, the reasons for listening this way, the theories that underpin this kind of listening, and maybe the background to it is more of the secret, or at least what I think is lesser known. And that's what started with Annie and some other work that I continued to do, getting to know Lacan. How's that as an example for you, Dave?
I really like that. And I'm also like, when you said it, what I was thinking of, and somebody said, I want to blow this up. I was trying to picture what role they were playing in it. Right? Were they the bomb maker? Were they the sponsor? Or were they? Some terrorist thoughts came through from my mind, so I had to decompress.
You know what? Would that type of paying attention to language? Obviously, Annie's been doing it a long time, lo- long before we have Zoom or Teams or whatever it happens to be. Like these video conferencing. I always go back to maybe, I don't know, 15 years ago when they were doing coaching just over the telephone, and they're really paying attention to every word that someone says, imagining it, because they're not really getting the visual side. Um, but I think coaches in the past paid a lot more attention to each word. So I find that sometimes we lose it in sort of interpreting what we see. Yeah. Any other way that you would see that in your coaching? Like, do you ever like close your eyes as you're listening to a coachee?
I might, but probably only if I'm inviting them to do some visualization, because I think it's probably kind of disturbing for someone to be on Zoom face to face with the coach with their eyes closed. But to your point about telephone, I do some sessions on phone. And actually, I really enjoy that. I think because of this style of listening, it is more conducive to really listening to the letter, because the image on the screen is a distraction, and there is a kind of something about it can be misleading even. And something about it can be really informative too. You can see things in the body language that people aren't necessarily saying with the words.
Yeah, I think I used to have someone that used to work for me, and he was very quiet. He was based in Singapore, and I would always just wonder. And we just had phone. That's all we had. And then we moved to video, and it changed everything. But I found myself misinterpreting a lot, um, just because of my own filters. And yeah, I know that can happen even still. So, Leslie, what would you, or what do you want from a coach? Um,
Yeah. Well, from what I've said, maybe you could guess deep listening, empathy, support and challenge, both, and really a long term relationship. And I think the best work that I've done as a coachee has been in the context of long term, ongoing developmental relationships. And that's as true in coaching as it is in supervision. So I've been in the same supervision group for more than 7 years. And I've been doing peer vision, which is like one on one supervision with another experienced colleague with the same person for about 5 years. And it's that arc of time that really provides a container for learning about oneself and one's relationship with others that just can't be duplicated. So that's what I'm looking for from a coach or from something coach like.
Can I ask, and just in like to ask a little bit more, like around the long term? So, if you're coaching somebody over the long term, right? Um, how do you actually like make sure that in a business setting, that business person says, yes, there's still value in this discussion? Because there's somebody that I've coached for many years, right? And it's gotten to a place where we meet one on one about once a month. It's not every other week. It's not every 3 weeks. Like maybe in the beginning where it was every 2 weeks, and we're looking at the development plan, working towards objectives, things like that. But now it's that every month. And you're right, there's a lot that doesn't have to be said. And then there's some benefits, some looks, some nonverbals that happen in a long-term coaching relationship that um, are easier to, you sort of go even further in that relationship that you don't. So what else do you talk about, and what kind of frequency do you have for these long-term coaching relationships?
Yeah, well, I love talking about this, Matt, because it feels a little bit taboo. That there's so much that we're advised to, not get into a situation of dependency. Coaching shouldn't go on too long. And I just don't agree with that. I think that the length of a given coaching relationship has more to do with the circumstance of the client and the coaching relationship itself than any predetermined duration. So I have a couple clients now that two in particular that I've been working with for more than 10 years. So, what happens over that span of time is the arc of their career unfolds. One of them I started working with when they just made partner and they were entering into their executive life. And now, 10 years later, they have a very senior role. So there's been a whole range of things that we've worked on over that time. And it is now about once a month. Sometimes we even skip it because their schedule is so busy and they don't necessarily need to meet with me every month. But they save up the stuff that they have no other place to speak about. If you're a senior person, where else do you express your doubts, your concerns, your conflicts, the questions that you're grappling with? So it's kind of a sacred space for for speech that can't be said anywhere else. And the other individual is somebody I started working with when they took on a leadership role and now they're getting ready to retire. So the work has evolved through handing off their practice to somebody else and now getting ready and planning for life beyond the next chapter. It's not really retirement, it's more like changing gears, moving into something else. So the work evolves and the trusting relationship enables it to evolve.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's spot on in terms of, and then in this one case that I'm just thinking of, after it's almost been almost 5 years now, it really has. Their career has really. I've been able to maybe be a, um, um, I don't know if this is a good word, like a cheerleader from the side, and a place to talk about some of those things, and maybe even to like relate back in the past. Whereas if I was in a coaching relationship with
Mhm.
someone where at 6 to 9 months, we're like, okay, good job. We've met our development goals. See you later. I'm moving on. You maybe know, you don't get that continuity, to be able to say, like, do you remember, 3 years ago when we were in the same place? Do you remember what we talked about? Or maybe we need to go pull out Michael Watkins' Your First 90 Days again in this new assignment to see what you can learn. So, yeah. Dave, how you doing over there?
It's Yeah, I'm doing good. I am enjoying the conversation, and I it made me think like I was in a different organization like 15 years ago, and then I left, did some things, rejoined another organization, and about five of my clients from that old organization were in this new one, and it was just like picking up from where we left off. And it was a beautiful thing because we already knew each other, and it just was very easy to kind of get past that foundation into, so what have you been doing for 10 years? So I like that. And where is it that they say you're not supposed to have relationships for that long? I'm hoping, because I didn't read it, and I would not abide, definitely not by that. I like the idea of that.
I think where we ran into it at the company that I was at was sometimes a coach would be more advisory and like find ways to do consulting, and they maybe wouldn't say the things that that a like a healthy relationship where there's a healthy amount of conflict can happen, where I can say those things. And I don't think it is a sacred space. Um, well, let me just, I'll hedge on that. I don't know necessarily. But in the times where our leaders would have the most difficulty with a long-term relationship with a coach is they just felt like maybe the coach was just telling the leader what they wanted to hear and not necessarily saying some of the harder things that may, that maybe the leader should be hearing. And so I think that's where some of the bad examples uh, um, lead up to that.
My the thing I was looking forward to most was asking Leslie what are the three resources she recommends, because I know it's impossible for the cosmic librarian to only have three.
Yeah, we want like the top three, and they don't have to be books. They could be other things too. We have had poetry, songs, things like that. I would, as the librarian, you can be multimedia.
Well, I think I've already mentioned one on this podcast, Annie Rogers' book, The Unsayable. So anyone who's interested in this kind of Lacanian listening and thinking, that would be a great recommendation. A second one, again, in this vein of a kind of, it comes from psychoanalysis, this kind of thinking, this kind of listening to the letter and what's being said beyond what we realize that we're saying. And Manfred Ketz de Vries has written a lot of books that are aimed at coaches and consultants that take that point of view. He's written a lot. Mindful leadership coaching is a good one if you're looking for something specific. And then the third that I'd offer, I go back to again and again, Immunity to Change, Keegan and Leahy, which is so good at helping all of us as coaches uncover these ambivalences, these contradictions, these things in what we say and what we do, and helping our clients to see them, work with them, transcend them. So those would be my top three.
Classics in the coaching world. Yeah. Um, well, Leslie, this is an opportunity where Dave and I just have a chance to just talk about like um, what we experienced in actually spending time with you. So, one, Dave and I were looking forward to this time together, and we hope our listeners can understand why. But we really appreciate it. And I think my biggest takeaway was um, really listening to the language of what someone says, not getting rid of how they're saying it or um, what way any of the other body, um, you know, body stuff or somatic stuff that goes on with it. And I don't know, I got this image as you were talking about this idea around like if I'm really paying attention to somebody, then I'm really hanging on each word that they're saying, and really trying to listen at a deeper level, and rather than just sort of listening for data or information. And that made me obviously think of Otto Scharmer's book on U theory and listening. So there's my additional resource there. If anybody wants it, they don't want to read a book on U theory, but they can watch a YouTube video just to really understand that next level of listening that I think Annie would really support in that way too. So, yeah.
Well, Matt, I love that that's your association because I think that the listening model in theory is terrific. I think it's like open mind, open heart, open will,
Yeah.
and it is a kind of opening to what's being offered by whoever is the speaker that is really profound.
Yeah. Dave, what's your reflection?
You took listening, and I actually want to add something that, like, Leslie's presence in conversations, and it's coming back to me now. Your presence in our conversations always gets me to think differently. And like I step back and I start to reflect, and I'm like, yes, language, and like, do where am I using that? Where am I doing that? Where am I missing it? And I so appreciate like the opportunity to kind of be in your presence, because in this short period of time, you're getting me to think differently again. So thank you. And I think that's also probably one of the secret sauces with your clients, right? Is looking at their language, but also just thinking differently about how they see themselves and the language that they use.
Leslie, where could someone, what's the best way for someone to find you?
The best way for someone to find me, well, clearly it's not on a bus or an airplane. The,
Right. Wrapped up in a blanket somewhere. That would not be the best way to find you.
the best way to find me is probably on LinkedIn. Uh,
Okay.
happy to hear from people on LinkedIn or send me an email. My contact info is on LinkedIn if you connect with me there. How's that? Makes it
Yeah.
easy.
That's great. I would also recommend. Not too long ago, Leslie also published a paper on internal coaching that I recommend, and you can find that on from her LinkedIn profile. And it just actually talks about a way of thinking about our role as internal coaches. That is it. It's an allegory. Is that correct? Um, yeah. And I just encourage you to think about it. If you're an internal coach and you're listening to this, and sometimes it feels lonely as an internal coach, I would just encourage you to find that on LinkedIn and read the document, because I think it'll cause you to think about it even in a different way still.
Yeah, it's the three metaphors. The
There you go. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
field medic, the canary in the coal mine, and
That's right.
the Trojan horse.
hmm Yeah. Um, Dave, you want to close us out here?
Yeah, a message from our sponsor. Are you feeling stuck or overwhelmed? Character Matters Coaching and Consulting provides leadership coaching and consulting to empower you to overcome obstacles and reach your full potential. Visit charactermatters.us.com to learn more about their transformative coaching and how to get connected to Matt for your organization.
Thanks, Leslie. Thank you, everyone. And until next time, have a great day.